but you can also do it out of just newspaper. What do you guys, where was he going? So saving seeds is great to save you money, and I better go check on that one. Joining me here today at Re-Written Vintage Homestead. I've got Marshall Dillon with me and his brother Reggie, and we were just out here talking about seeds and seed saving and why it's so important, and we thought we'd share some of that with you. So I came out to the garden. We had a little bit of rain on and off today. You might be able to hear the thunder still but it's just little showers that come and go. And so this is a good time to come out to the garden and pull some weeds because, you know, they're easy to pull that way, and do some hoeing. So I've done that over the last several days. So today I'm going to finish that up a little bit, and I'm going to spread some of my seeds. I'm going to save some of my seeds, and then I'm going to spread some straw out and give it a really good coat of water to get ready for next year. My flowers, some of them are beautiful, some of them are, you know, drying up and dying now. So next year I want it to just be overflowing in beautiful perennials and wildflowers, and so I'm going to take care of them now. But first let's talk about why it's so important to save seeds. This is my Indian corn, one of my varieties that I grow, but this is another reason why you want to save your seeds. I have grown this variety of corn. This is my third year. And look at it. Look how tall it is. And you know what? I know it's going to produce. Where I live and with my climate and my weather conditions, I know that this type of corn will not let me down. So if you guys find something, a tomato, a pepper, something that works for your climate and where you live, make sure you save the seeds so that you can grow them year after year and have a dependable crop. Seeds are food. So here's my sunflower here. It's seen its better days. And so the outside leaves have dried up. The inside I'm able to pull apart so the seeds will fall out easy. So I'm going to cut that off right here at the top, and if it was still a little moist, I would put it out and let it dry, but I think it's dried enough and it's ready to be de-seeded. But seeds are food, and so when you have sunflower seeds, you can take those, you can roast them, you can salt them, and you can eat them, which is what I'll be doing with mine, putting them in salads. And in addition to that, I'm going to save them because I want sunflower seeds of all different kinds out in my garden. I'm going to save my seeds here from my red ones that I just love, and the bees love too. So I want to make sure they come back next year. And some of them actually came out kind of orange. Isn't that gorgeous? So I don't want to lose these seeds. I want to make sure they continue on next year. So saving seeds is important because you can eat them and you can make sure they come back next year. And another tip I want to share with you is, even though I'm going to go ahead and take the head off of this sunflower, I'm going to leave the stalk. See how the stalk is still green and vibrant? I'm going to wait until that stalk is actually decaying on its own. And the reason I'm going to do that is because of its roots. They're just like corn, and so those roots spread out and they get larger and larger, and they help to aerate and add oxygen to your soil. So just because you take the head out, don't go pulling your beautiful leaves and your beautiful stem out. And did you know that every part of a sunflower is edible? Every part. So you can give that a try too. It's one of nature's beautiful, beautiful gifts to us. The boys are loving this cooler weather and they're just torturing each other. But I've talked to you guys before about my hollyhocks. And so my hollyhocks are all dried up now and they are going to seed. So what I'll do is I have these pods. And so these pods are nice and dry, and if you open it up, that's where your seeds are on the inside. So I'm going to scatter some of these because I want this area to be completely covered. And I'm also going to save some of them. The reason I'm going to save them is I want to give some of them to some of my friends and some of my family. That's one of the reasons you save seeds. If you have a flower that really means something to you, or a vegetable, or any other kind of plant that you might have, saving seeds is a good way to make sure that that line lives on. I've talked about hollyhocks before in my other videos, but I want to give you a little story behind them. So my hollyhocks, which is my favorite all-timey flower, garden flower. I love zinnias too, and so many others, but the hollyhock is just beautiful. These hollyhocks came from an elderly neighbor of mine that I used to live next door to, and she had hollyhocks in her backyard by her garden. Well, my parents just loved them so much, so my dad went over and got the seeds, and he planted them at his homestead, and my neighbor passed away. Well, my parents moved to another homestead in a different town. They took their seeds with them, and now they have beautiful hollyhocks where they live there. And so that's where I got these seeds, was from my parents, but they originally started with my elderly neighbor that I used to live next door to, who passed away. So every time I look at these, I think of her and I think of my parents. And so that's one reason that you want to save seeds. They tell a story just like your family tree. It finally started to rain, and I'm so happy. So I took my shoes off, and I'm going to do some earthing while I'm out here too. You guys, when we were kids, we used to call that going barefoot. But they've done scientific studies that show the earth has electricity in it. And that's probably why kids were so much healthier years ago, is because that electricity flows from the dirt and the grass into our bodies and helps our immune systems. So these two were afraid they were going to melt, so we had to run inside the garage. Rain's coming down pretty good now, and I'm glad because the ground is really dry. But I wanted to show you guys, these are my tomato seeds, and I showed you in my last video how I saved those, but I'll put up that little part and show you again. But I put them on napkins, I labeled them. These are my Cherokee, and labeled them. These are my Cherokee. These are my Beefmaster, and these are my yellow. And see how they, once you get them dried really good and you put them on these paper towels, they stick. So these aren't going to blow over there, and those aren't going to blow over there. So I'm just going to take my fingernail and I'm going to work them up and then put them in baggies or glass jars. And the sun's back out, friends, so I'm back at it. Look at those beautiful clouds. Aren't those gorgeous? I couldn't ask for a better night to work outside. Once your seeds are fully dry, that's when you're going to bag them up. Now you can put them in paper bags, you can put them in plastic bags, like these. I prefer to put mine in jars if I have them, little jars, baby food jars. I have had seeds, and it's probably because I kept them in a place that was too warm. But if you put them in these plastic ones, you need to make sure you keep them in a cool, dry place so that you don't get moisture buildup in your bags and it might ruin your seeds. If you don't have time to bag your seeds all at once and you forgot to label them, sometimes it helps bringing a remnant of what you're saving with you. Even though this one has faded out, I can still tell it was one of my siesta coneflowers. It has a little bit of the orange on the inside there. So I'm going to get these packed up and then we'll go from there. Just like with your canned goods, you want to make sure that you label your seeds so you don't forget what they are. And as you're labeling them, you also want to do just like your canning jars and put the date. Typically seeds, they have a good rotation life of about 3 years. And then after that time, you're going to want to get a new set of seeds started. So make sure that you label your seeds and you put the date. So now that I've got this one corralled, he wanted me to remind you guys that seed saving is about self-reliance. So you want to be a homesteader. You wouldn't be watching my channel if you didn't like the principles of homesteading. One of the main principles of homesteading is saving seeds. It affects everything else, from preserving to the foods you eat to not relying on others. You guys remember when the pandemic first hit and there was a lot of panic and you couldn't find toilet paper and you couldn't find chili beans and you couldn't find tomato juice and things. People were nesting at home and making chili and spaghetti, and there was a lot of staples that you could not find. So if you're growing your own food, you would already have those things on hand, and they would all start from a little seed. And seeds were also scarce during the pandemic. So if you have them, if you've saved them, you won't have that worry. Seeds are also very important for food security. So that means that you'll be able to go out and get the type of food that grows best in your region, that you enjoy, that you want to eat, and that you know hasn't been treated with chemicals that you don't want on your foods. So at any time, you'll be able to go out and get the foods that you enjoy. Another reason why seed saving is important and you should do it is that it's very relaxing. It's an inexpensive, relaxing, fun hobby. So hobby, you say, that looks like a lot of work to me. Well, it kind of is a lot of work. But that being said, I'm not thinking about anything else while I'm doing this. All I'm thinking about is I love Cherokee tomatoes and the way they taste. I love that they honor my ancestors. I love that I grew this plant myself. I love that I'll be able to hand these seeds down to someone else. And so it's a wonderful, relaxing, stress-free, inexpensive hobby. It's easy, something anyone can do. Also, too, there's a lot of people that share their seeds with others. So let's say I have my pink hollyhocks, but I don't have any red ones. But my parents have the red ones, or a friend has a red one. I can trade them some pink for some red. That's a nice way to make pen pals and to make friends, as well as trading with your friends and family. So it's a great, relaxing hobby that you might want to try. You can store your seeds in a place that doesn't get direct sunlight and stays a comfortable temperature. So you want something that's not close to a window and it doesn't get too hot and it doesn't get too cold. So just your normal temperature. I keep my seeds in this little box on top of my pantry, and they do great that way. For long-term storage, you can save your seeds in the freezer. They'll save about 5 years if you do it that way. You can also use your canning jars, just your glass jars with a lid, and put seeds in there, and they'll save for a long time. So thanks for joining Marshall and I today as we talked about seed saving and the importance of it, why you should do it, how to do it, and I hope you guys jump on the seed saving train, because it is one of the most important things you can do for self-reliance. And this is part of our Boots on the Ground series. It's that important. And it's going to become more important the next few years. Thanks for watching, you guys. I hope you have a great week. Like, subscribe, and share if you feel so inclined. And keep at it. Keep working hard. I have been digging this sweet potato for the last half hour. This is the most massive sweet potato I have ever seen. And I was so excited I finally got it out of the ground until I looked a little deeper. And there's another one I have to dig. But isn't that humongous? I can't wait to taste it.